It's Shirley with Spirit of Matter. And today's episode is listen, when I say a disclaimer about trigger warnings, it doesn't mean that when I don't say the disclaimer, there could not be triggers. So my entire content is trigger warning. But just because I'm trying to grow and to grow from it and be able to say the trigger warnings ahead on time, then I will say this is trigger warning everything. Okay, look at the title for this episode, recovery from threats on my life from a psychologist, and you can understand the circumstances under which such a thing happened. Okay, it was my psychologist, not my patient, sozusagen. But I like to talk about it in an astrological framework, as I always like to address things. It's a very centering praxis for me and very useful. So we get a bit of an astrological perspective, perhaps a more detached perspective, but also in this detachment a lot of vulnerable emotional discussion is allowed about topics that without this perhaps would not be as easily facilitated. So this is no longer Mercury day, it is already Sol night, okay, the night of Sol, the sun, and the hour is the moon. So sun moon. The moon is on the descendant. It's a very angular moon. It's the most angular, and right after it is Venus with 17 degrees on the IC in the third house, with the sun in the fourth on my descendant, and Mercury 9 degrees Virgo, okay, sun in Virgo, and it is my ascendant house with Saturn here and ruling the midheaven, and Neptune that is on the 10th. So I do it professionally. The speech is professional. I came back, I'll give you a bit of a background. I came back today from a very spontaneous event. I was walking in my city, my village, basically. Just taking a walk, and then there was some event in the city, some building, and I enter, and of all people, the mayor comes towards me, shakes my hand. I shake his hand, of course, politely, and a cameraman takes a picture. So those are some of the stuff that happened to me every so often, used to happen to me, and I live for these moments, okay? And then I had some 7-Up, some Sprite, and we enter into this hall. I said, oh, let's hear what they have to say. So he gave a big speech. And there I was thinking, as I was sitting there in the hall, listening with everybody spontaneously, I saw, the design of the speech, the talk about this, like a sport group, okay, where the entire, they call it Nivcheret, okay, the sports group team. And things begin to come back to me from my academia, but actually good things, okay, actually humorous things, joyous things, the good memories, okay, not the traumas, blah, but the good memories for a change. And as I am sitting there thinking about, because I was Me Too veteran, and I did the symmetry, it's a very emotional episode. I did the symmetry of the person that violated my boundaries there. And then, of course, I remember things, and I just have this thought in my head about that there is this sentence that walks with me. There was a discussion on Twitter, I don't remember who wrote about this, that people say to women that they have power over men or something like this, and they expect for women to heal like from sexual violation in this. And I remembered when my therapist, and they don't know what's energy, that's Veikaresh Mo B'Israel, they don't know what's energy. Okay, that's how I call him. Um, and so, and he was saying that to me, but the context was that we were already having energy sex, and the thing is, it's just I don't know how it happened. It was 9 months we was in therapy. Then something happened. He was uh, drawn to me, and I was responsive to that. Um, but it was very strange because he would feel things in the more in the room, and I would feel like afterwards. But I said, okay, let's take a look at what's in there. Who knows? And the world is weird. As long as I'm okay, then. But then eventually we worked on me little. He gave me the child, and he wanted really much to bring me little to the room. Okay, so when that happened, before even that happened, I bought my stuffy panda, and I began to feel like I'm not merged. So there was some being in the world that was my stuffy that I was not emotionally merging with. Now I love emotional merging. I love merging. Okay, merging is lovely. It's what I'm half channeler. I always have all kinds of energies, and I love that. I feel good with that. But the thing is that sometimes you need to have your energy, especially when you're so intimate with someone. I know how weird it is. If it sets, the chills on your spine, you are the correct, you are on the right. But the thing is, that's what it was, and I felt I need some space to explore the non-sexual part, because when you recover from sexual trauma, you're either so busy in avoiding, or you have or people use it in a way that is disempowering. Okay, the experience is disempowering, and you're so concentrated, like, how do I have sex that is willingly consensual, that I like, and this and that you don't think about anything else. And I just wanted to take some time for me. And he went balloonies. I guess he was like addicted to this energy sexual encounters with me. And as I was sitting there today in the hall, like the city hall, I guess, and watching the mayor speak, and and people, and that, and the music, and so, and I was thinking about all these things. Then I was able to view it with like a sense of humor, and I had this in mind. It's like, yeah, 2 minutes we don't sleep together. What happened? The world fall apart. You threatened my life with this, with that. You violate my boundaries. What the fuck? Okay, what the fuck? What happened? I just exploring me. Okay, and that was basically what happened. I had this kind of like cathartic release of the trauma, because my life was spread. He told me, you are not safe in the room, you are not safe in this. It began when he said, your vulnerability makes me want to like hurt. So, okay, it's not my kink. Not my kink. So how do we go from this together? And I did work out with this, but I was also working out in the sense of like, okay, what is the support system that the person who doesn't want to be an offender has? Okay, or is it just like, okay, let's look at this. But everybody, there was a kaleidoscope of mistakes, and eventually he got so enraged that I dare to speak about this. I mean, of course, it is my life on the line, and not only that he violated my energy boundaries. Okay, you have energy sex, you have like a liminal space that you have to share together. If it's trusting, if it's good, then it's all good. But when you make an interaction in that space, you have to interact, the way you interact with a human being, the way you would in a three-dimensional. And when he was violent in that space, so because they don't know what's energy, and that's his name, because of that, he said they don't know what's energy, so that's his name. And although it does move. And the thing is, they call it astral sex or astral dreaming, astral projection, all of the above. It is actually quite fascinating experiences. I got to feel like, what does a man feel when they have erection? or that they fall asleep. Only recently I learned from Nate Cherish that he shared about the being energized after sex, even if you don't have semen retention, and that when you clear the shame out of your body, then even as a man you can be energized after sex and not fall asleep after sex. Like, oh my God, it's not that it's a goal. There's nothing wrong if you fall asleep, um, but that is something I only recently learned. I found, wow, it's mind blowing. So it was not just, when it was okay, it was okay, it was good experiences. But when a person violates these boundaries, then it becomes violent. It's not good. Nobody has to go through violence, whether sexual or psychological or whatnot. And then they try to control your body through this. So you have to take back your power. If you don't know anything about energy to protect your body, I didn't know anything. To protect your boundary, to take away, you don't know anything. So you feel very disempowered, and you feel very frightened, and you fear for your life, and you don't know what to do. Okay, you don't know what to do, and you already understand that what they offer you, like take this pill, take that pill, is not really working, because you have to find another solution. We don't know what is the solution. What do you do? Okay. So basically, there are many things you could turn to. You could turn to alcohol. You could turn to this talisman that I have, that I invite the energy of, and the Will to Purchase by Christopher Warnock. There are rituals of banishment, of return to sender if needed be. But the best is, to set the boundaries, return to sender, if needed be, banishment, if needed anything that needs to basically return to your energy, to your own energy, and take it back. It's possible. You just need to know that it exists, and that you can enforce your boundaries in this energy realm. Okay, but back then I didn't know, and of course, when his interest was that I would not speak about anything. But for me, I felt, even if when things was okay, it's like I don't expect anything from this person. It's not my partner, it's not my spouse, not anything. I'm here to heal and find another person, huh? But even so, I'm not keeping silent. I'm not restricting my throat chakra, because I'm not restricted in my sex chakra. Okay, energy flow, and so to heal the sexuality is like, you can sleep with me as long as I'm satisfied and we are all good. It's okay. It's no problem. And it was indeed like very emotional and so on. So I was responsive to that. I have fifth house Cancer with the moon in Cancer. Okay, so I'm a lovey-dovey. I need good energy to feel safe and so on. But not to oppress. Okay, it's like what you chose to do. Your therapist, no therapist. Okay, it's like, if it doesn't bother me, then I. But I will not keep secrets, keep this, keep that. This is not me. It's not who I am. Never did I commit to keep secret, to have secret affair. No, it's not what I came for. Not compatible with me. I'm not compatible with secrets, intimacy. No. But this was even worse when I decided to take time for myself and just to explore the non-sexual me, and also the non-sexual me child. Okay, to have access to my childhood, to things that I've never been before. Okay, and Rahu by then switched from Leo to Cancer, which is my fifth house. This was the eclipse cycle, and unfortunately, that's where things went really balloonies. And of course, even before that, I felt like, okay, was fine, like the reality that we are both comfortable with was beginning to diminish, and he was trying to expand beyond that set for me. So I said, okay, I need to explore also my non-sexual side. But I wasn't even rejecting him, and he was like a junkie. He was like a junkie. And that was very frightening. Okay, on the one hand, it's like, oh, I didn't know I'm that good. But on the other hand, is is very frightening, because we all want to be sexual. We want to be, the people who are not, so there are asexual people out there. Gray romantic is not, we don't want to erase anybody's sexuality or the orientation around sexuality or the lack of, but of the people who are sexual, we want to be sexual, we want to be free, we want to enjoy ourselves. We don't want to feel frightened to explore sexuality willingly, consensually with anyone. And that was creating a certain trauma, big trauma, and threatening to my life, and trying to use the fact that we were having these astral encounters sort of like in a way that like really trying to exterminate me. Okay, this is my experience, like trying to exterminate me. And like, I'm not your shame point. Okay, so you had sex with a patient. Okay, fine, I'm not going to sue you, I'm not going to litigate you, I'm not going to, just treat me with respect. I mean, you can end therapy as well. But the thing is that the whole circumstances around this, and I don't know if it's sexual shame, if it's what the fuck, I don't know. Okay, and I don't judge either, but it cannot be that people are afraid for their lives because they had sexual encounter with someone and now they just want to take some time. Okay, some time. Up until then, that was good to me, it's okay. From there, I want to see myself, I want to hug myself, I want to hug my stuffy, I want to explore me in this. And he was like a junkie over this sexual activity. Was supposed to be like liberation or whatnot, but it's very crazy, it's very difficult, and very scary. Okay, and then when I was sitting there, I was laughing, but I was able to laugh, but it's very scary for my life to be threatened like this, And for no, it's like really, there's just no, I was not trying to get something from him. I was not trying to make him do things that he doesn't want to do. I was not, commitment that he doesn't want to do. Or it's like, it was nothing like that. It was more me trying to heal myself, and then looking into my non-sexual side, my emotional needs that are also non-sexual. So, and all in all, it was very confusing, but I don't want anyone to have to fear sex. I don't want anyone to have to fear intimacy. I don't want anyone to have to fear being vulnerable. I don't want anyone to have to fear going to therapy. I don't want anyone to have to fear to say no to the suggestion of whatever, whether it is pill or it is therapy or it is the therapist himself. I want everyone to have to fear or worry or be in a situation of life risking. I have to fight for that. I don't want anyone to have to be in a situation where they have to defend their boundaries in the energy, and they don't even know, they cannot even conceptualize that such a thing exists and that there is a way out. I don't want anyone to have to fear being psychically attacked when you sleep with someone. It's regardless of gender. And this leads me also to the next thing that I will address briefly. We are heading, Rao is with Aries in Aries, okay, so Mars ruled Rao. And this is also a time where I predict a lot of men will discuss boundary violations that they have been through. And And it's a veteran talk, okay? It's a veteran talk. It's we all need to respect our voice and the voice of the other person, the other people. We all need to change the way we look at things, at sexuality, at all of that. One of the things, I'll begin with what helps, okay? Setting your feet on the soil where something grows. Putting your feet on the soil, okay? Feet is the root. Letting that excess energy, okay? If you're male type or your male energy, doesn't matter, penis, vaginas, or maybe it does, I don't know. Like, you need to see what works for you. But putting your feet on the soil, it opens up your heart. Okay, it opens up your heart. Then your second chakra, it's your relational chakra. Okay, when you put your feet on the soil, when you grow something in the soil, you pray over the soil. Then you can come to your second sex chakra. That's relational. It's your ability, and this I quote Tom Jacobs here, to say yes, no, and maybe in alignment with your sex chakra, with how you feel, with your relational chakra. It's also the relation, it's also the moon. So working with the moon tenderly, being aware of the cycles of the moon. Okay, this chakra is very beneficial. The cycles of the moon. It's usually the energy that you get from women, if you are a cisgender man that is attracted to women, or womb people, is the second chakra, and that can drain you. So you go back to your feet. Okay, go back to your feet. You set the boundary there. But this boundary also must be respected by the other person that needs to put their feet on the soil. And the sex chakra works with the throat chakra, it works with validation. It's also your voice. If you are in a position where you try to return to self-pleasure after sexual assault or sexual oppression or psychological oppression, or even your stress at work, which is taking its toll on your sexuality. This is also oppression, it's also sexual oppression, and the throat chakra is a validation. Okay, speaking up is validating yourself, validating your feelings. And validation also to the other person. From that you will be able to respect boundaries, to validate. And then is your solar, which is what Tom Jacobs defined as I alone define who I am. And this is where we have Ra in Aries. I alone define who I am. Nobody can tell you who you are. I cannot tell you who you are. I can say these things, maybe this helps you, maybe it doesn't help you. I don't know you more than you. Only you can know you. And it's about your self-definition. Your identity is your identity contributing. How is your identity? Let's say you say I'm a man. Okay, how are you being a man in this world is in sexual health, in openness, in safety, in feeling that the world is your oyster and that you enjoy being here in life. You don't owe anything to anybody, okay? And you can be considering, but you can also stand your ground if needed be, and recover that sense that your no will be respected, your yes will be respected, your maybe will be respected too. Okay, will be appreciated. We need to learn about it. I myself needed to learn about it with me, and that, of course, made me more of a human being, a better human being towards others. And this solar chakra is already working with the third eye. And third eye is also intuition, so power of consciousness. Okay, and to work with the power of consciousness, you could have remote viewing talents, okay, solar talents, or remote sensing, your intuition, but also your ability to think straight, to think, to see the world, to perceive the world. Is also your ability to listen. That works with the throat, but the ability to listen, to speak, to see the truth, your truth. And the root chakra is also working with the crown. Okay, so with the crown, whether you call it a sense of spirituality, or if you're atheist, kind of like a deeper connection that to something beyond you, or maybe to humanity, or the world at large, or the cosmos, or whatever you sense there. And this is a process. It's not a linear process. Okay, come back to your feet. You come back to I alone define who I am. Come back to preserving the energy boundaries. Growing things. Okay, I found that for people I met, growing things, working with the moon. Also, men. I found this works for them. It's good for them. And that alone will, not that alone, that will facilitate an easier move, okay? It will facilitate easier move. You meet your needs, and then you're able to open your mind and to see with clarity and to open your heart, and it will facilitate what needs to be for you, because there are people, there are always people who are going to say what they say. And I had even a person who's very loving, is very appreciative of me. But a couple of days ago, she was interrogating me about my trauma. It's like, why are you avoiding saying that? I'm like, okay, I didn't block her, but I was very close to do so. And she's a very loving person towards me. It's like, people are people. They will say what they say. They will do what they do. You have the rights to assert your boundaries, to speak when you want to speak, to not speak when you want to speak, to answer what you want to answer. You don't owe anything, anybody anything. About your process is your process, is your timing. All the things of will and consent is not just for one gender. It's not just for vaginas. It's for all of us. Also, I like to talk about this as we talked about genitals. So, a lot of people consider when they already try to have, let's say, sex with the partner, and kind of like after that, or even before that, and they see they don't have hard on. Now, this can be two things. Either it is your own misconceptions, like what you think about women, what you think about this, what you think about that. Or alternatively, and this is another thing, you could be attuned to the other partner, and then when they are not ready, it drops. But it doesn't mean that when you have a hard on, then they are ready. Okay, this should should be very emphasized, because you don't want to go to the other side. Okay, which happens to be, this is how people become offenders. Or also you were hurt by people, by the women or men that became offenders in this way. We're not born evil. We're born not good, not bad, and then rather learn somehow to live with ourselves and with each other. So those things are helpful, and I want to tell you that. Yes, you hear about this. I talk about what happened with my therapist, and so yes, you may find therapy that's good for you, but the things that I said, okay, even if you go to therapy, still You are the one who is recovering. You are the one who is recovering. Okay, and only you can say this is good for me, this is not good for me. Now what happens? What happens when you have this boundary violation? Okay, the ability to say this is good for me, is not good for me, this is to what was wounded. Okay, this is why I like the more things that you can do for yourself in yourself. Because yes, of course you need to be listened to, you need validation, you need connection. All of that is true, is very true, is important. We're social animals, most of us. But the thing is, to be able to be a part of this, you have to break the 22 catch. Okay, you have to break through to the 22 catch, and those things help you to interfere in the system in the way that this is something that you do. Your therapy was good, your therapy was not good, you know, how did I recover? I started doing these things, and I'm aligning the structure of my feet. I have a lot of 12 degrees in my chart. Nicholas Sternowich, 12 degrees. Pisces degrees the feet. So instead of feeling defeated by life, I work at my point of interference, is the structure of my feet, and to align that and to tend to my feet. So when you have a point of interference that you tend to, your job, and you know, sometimes it can be so liberating. Like, my job is to care for my feet. My job is to put my feet on the soil, to massage my feet, to put some oil, to have my nails done by myself, even to remove dry skin. Okay, this is my job for today. If only I do a bit of this today, to wash my feet, then good, I did my job today. And it's also with Chiron in Aries, it's gonna touch on your ability to do things. Okay, of course, if your sexual energy is being hurt, of course you're not feeling vibrant in the life and passionate about life. Of course you need to renew that, and it's a process. Okay, so of course you can't achieve the things with joy that you either used to achieve or that you see other people achieve, men and women. Of course you can't do this, okay, because you tend into something. But I want to say to you that this is not an eternal state where you are not dispassionate. You can and you tend to those things, and do it very cautiously and very slowly. To slow down. Oh my God, do these things remind you to slow down? It's a very bad way to remember that, but it's very important to slow down. And first of all, understand, no matter what, you're not to blame. You're not to blame. It's not what you were wearing, what you were not wearing, what you were doing, what you were saying, the impression you were giving, the this, the that, and none of that. It's none of that. It's basically a work with power where the person who is supposed to be even usually is power imbalance, so the person who's supposed to be the grown adult is actually feeling disempowered. Okay, this is what happened to me with, not only with my psychologist. My psychologist was very evident in a very harsh way, life risking way. Yeah, because I didn't know you can protect the energy. Okay, first I didn't know about all these things. You know, you sleep with the person, you think they're sleeping with you, is everything okay? But then they apparently feel very disempowered, and you don't know about this, and it's very difficult. I don't judge, but we also need to recover and to recover our sense of eroticism whenever we feel ready to. And so it's basically, yes, the person that is supposed to be either the grown adult or the responsible or the authority figure, they are going through something, probably because of childhood trauma themselves or some trauma themselves. We don't lack traumas. There's so many things that are traumatic, and they feel disempowered. Their experience is that they feel disempowered, and they try to control you. Okay, you're not trying to play. And it's important to know that you're not to blame, okay? Because you're not disempowering them by being yourself, by being sensual, by being a man. You're not disempowering anyone, okay? You're born free, you're born safe, you're born sensual if you're sensual, and you're being you, you're not disempowering. If you're asexual, okay, you are not to blame that you exist. They have a response for that, okay. Then maybe they need to tend to their desires, to their sexual fantasies, and see, okay, maybe to go to the essence of their desire and then manifest from there. It's like, oh, what fantasy they have over you. That's how it happened with, yeah, and what fantasies they have over you. And then they say, okay, what do I want? I want to meet, what is the essence of the fantasy? I want to meet that essence, or if they want to do something else with it. And then they will find a person they can meet willingly, consensually, that essence of the fantasy. Yes, how it works. So with also how it will work for you too eventually. Um, so it's important to understand that this is the position that the other person is in, that you are not to blame that they are in this position, and this is what you're dealing with. So, or what you dealt with. Okay, it's very frightening for all parties concerned. Everybody is traumatic. Okay, when something like this happens, everybody is in trauma. Everybody's the person who was the offender is in trauma. The person who was the victim is in trauma, and it's okay to say the victim. It's okay to say you were a victim in this situation, or maybe you like I don't decide for you if you were a victim, but let's say you feel like I was the victim here. Okay, you are not imagining. Okay, to see it as I was a victim in this situation. Yes, you were a victim in this situation. It's nothing bad to say that. No, no, the sky will not fall. Now the point is how to go back to you, and sometimes it means speaking. Sometimes it means helping others. Not in a way that you're responsible for anybody's process. Don't not to get into that. Sometimes it means expressing yourself. Okay, letting your voice out. It may mean different things for you, but essentially um, is a gate to a better sexuality for all humanity. And if you are not sexual, is a gate to more people being safe in the world. It's a gate to being more safe in the world. That's what I want you to understand. It's a gate to being even more safe in the world, not less. It's a gate to gaining even more freedom in life and passionate life, not less. And this gate, it's like this, it should not have happened this way. And you still are able to live, and there is life. Also, what is very likely to happen is that your entire world will feel like it's falling apart, because you will feel that everything that you have been doing is no longer relevant. And I'm saying that not only on the time where you need to recover, I'm saying it also on the time when you begin to come out of the shell. You come out of the shell to the world. It's not this world that was before is no longer relevant. Can't do the 9 to 5. If my job is not working with the flow of my sexual energy freely, it's not job, it's sexual oppression. Even if you were a sex worker before. Okay. It's like the value of life is actually emphasized even more, not less. Anything that is not in alignment, to make a life while making a living, to live good. Today, in this life, in this body. Or if you do gender affirming, yes, of course, but you know, in your gender affirmed body, in this life, in this incarnation, to live good. Anything that's not in alignment with it falls apart. And for a while, or for whatever time, it could be your best friends, it could be your family, it could be everyone. Everything falling apart, or maybe not, okay, maybe not, yeah, but even everything falling apart, so that you could come together and live the life that you came here to live. And for this, and for the intergenerational stuff, they say, I am allowed to live better than my parents. I'm allowed to live better than my parents, and I want to give you something that may encourage you. In astrology, the third generation, okay, so the grandchildren, they usually continue on the life and the trajectory of the spiritual life of the grandparents. Okay, and you connect to your roots. You see, you put in your feet on the soil. Maybe you will think of stuff. Things will come up, but put it in soil that's something growing on. Okay, and bless the soil, and bless your feet, bless your body, and bless your soul. And so when you are living an even better life than your ancestors, you are living. You're meant to do this because your life is the continuation. Okay, it's kind of like yeah, you live and we are connected, so they live with you. They're benefiting from that. They're benefiting from that. When you live good, the benefit, you change the time, you improve the time trajectory, the timeline that the ancestors and so. And also, when it comes to shame, okay, that little demon that creeps up on you. Now this is, we said, you know, they don't know what's energy. Now I'm going to explain to you what's energy. That shame that you feel, that every once in a while creeps up on you, is not your energy. It's the energy of the wound. Okay? And you got it, you know the Durex ad that they had, if you sleep with that person, you sleep with the person that they slept with, the person that they slept with, that is energy. There was it doesn't matter who started this. It doesn't matter who started this. No blame, no shame, nada. Just energy of, and that energy was like poison. Okay? You're to blame for this. It could be religion, it could be dogma, it could be what? A billion of other things. Tribal communities. You're so like, oh, tribal communities, indigenous communities, they had their traumas too. Okay? Everything. And this energy, when, was not being addressed, it goes with the sexual encounter. And unfortunately, when there's boundary violation, with that as well. And if you're energy sensitive, then you feel that even without them violating you directly. Okay, you could be next to someone and maybe feel that. It could be very traumatic. So what we do, we tend to our energy. We heal our energy. And we say intention to dissolve that energy. Dissolve the energy of the density of the wound. Dissolve. You take time, okay, to dissolve. We put our feet in the soil. We drink water. Water bear. We drink water. This is helpful. Okay. And that will allow you to move, allow you to move, allow you to move, and then what happens when you're moving? They can contract, your muscles can begin to work out again, and then you can relax again. And little by little, we will also be able to do this sensually. And yes, sometimes a bit less, sometimes a bit more, sometimes this, sometimes you get certain. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. I still feel despair sometimes, but it's not only despair. There's more experiences, and um, yeah. And that that's the point of interference. It's the beginning of a different life, a better life, and it's happening on a humanity level, a high humanity level. So whether you listen to that as a man, as a trans man, as a woman, as two-spirit, as gender fluid, gender queer, non-gender, sexual, asexual, those words are valid, and if you find them invalid, you are on the right, because what is valid is what valid for you, and if it's helpful for you, then good, practice it, and you see this as a process. Sometimes can't even look in the mirror, sometimes can't even touch yourself because you feel like there's more energy there, you don't want it, you don't know what to do, and you despair. Like those things are all a part of that. You need to know what's energy, because knowing that will absolve you of so much shame, useless responsibility. Too much responsibility you've taken on yourself is not useful. Stress and drama that we tend to pull on ourselves or on the other person is just useless. Yeah, we need to speak up. Yes, it is usually, when you look at it, when you look at the chart, you understand that there is dynamics, and we are X that plays these dynamics. We're an X in an equation. And this equation is lovely. Then we have, there's a sentence in Norwegian. I know this from YouTube shorts. They say a person who is loved, they have a lot of names. Yes, my psychologist, he has one name. They don't know what's energy, but he could have had a lot more. And he can have, and he can heal, and he can change, and he can tend to this. And he can. It's a societal change. It doesn't have to keep doing it. They fall into those pitfalls. It doesn't have to be like that. So, but this is also something important. If you were hurt, you are not the vehicle to heal somebody else. This is a person who is like a partner. Okay, you must heal first, and it's in many cases very good to take space, to take time, so that you are so safe in your body, that immediately you stop anything is not there. And sometimes people heal together, but mostly you want to allow yourself the time and space, because you want to have developed your autonomy. And autonomy is very interesting, because when you have this sense of autonomy, it's like autonomy is something that when you have, you're not concerned about it when you have it. You're okay with sharing your space when you have it. Okay, autonomy is something we're concerned about when we feel lack. Okay, we feel lack usually because of boundaries were violated. And so boundaries are not something we're concerned about unless they're violated. Okay, so it's a practice of learning how to return to ourselves and stay in ourselves and center ourselves. And this is the point of interference. Okay, this is not to say it's not to put. It's not to. Yeah, this is also what I like about the traditional astrology. In traditional astrology, they have this fortune and spirit. And spirit is our choices, our this, our that, and sometimes the chances that we are unaware of, and then comes this 12th house transit that we become aware of, like, oh, I did not know that I can make this choice, that choice. It's new. Then you do that. Sometimes there's a loss involved, but and then there's fortune, and fortune is something happens. Spirit is my response. Of course, when something like this happens, you feel so disempowered, you don't even feel like you exist. Okay? And this is what I said, these are points of interference, whichever works for you. And it is a process. Maybe it will take for you a shorter while, maybe it will take for you longer, maybe it will take decades, maybe it will take a whole life, maybe it will take less. Like I don't want to put a time stamp on your healing. I don't want to put rose-colored glasses, but I also don't want to put to give you hope so much so that if it doesn't happen in this timeline, you feel despair. I don't want you to feel despair, but also if you feel despair, these too shall pass. And oftentimes you feel despair when the moon decreases. Okay, you feel despair, and or when the moon is going to some, you say, the moon was now in Scorpio, now the moon is Sagittarius, moon is Scorpio. What did I do? I did the freeze vlog, I did talk on Saturn, I talk about the person that I had, my boundaries were not fully respected there in the academy, and yet Neptune on my Saturn. So that was remedial to talk right on that when the moon was crossing my Saturn. This is how I passed this this month. But to pay attention to the moon, you have more sensitive moon Capricorn. Capricorn is also a point where it's moon in detriment. But other than that, you see, you feel despair. It's like you process something, you're purging something, and something opens up for you to feel a bit better. And this could be annoying, okay? But it's also life. And life is beautiful. And there's a lot to live. You have a lot to live. So put next to you the energies, the people, the circumstances in as much as you can that are on par with this healing path. And slowly, little by the step by step, set boundaries, vanish, remove, let go, release, which is not in alignment with this path. If this is working for you. So that was an episode I wanted to make. And I associate that with Chiron, as to me I have Chiron in the 4th in conjunction Pluto and Neptune, and so the very things that are supposed to address my healing are in conjunction. It means that those things, if I try to practice them, I would sacrifice my own healing actually. And so when I'm doing this, then hopefully I'm addressing my Chiron, okay, the one that heals my communication, to talk about this childhood stuff, so language. If somebody would tell me, Shirley, you will talk about your traumas, I would tell them. I used to, before that they don't know what's energy, I went to EMDR. Because, by the way, I learned about EMDR. It was not eventually helpful for me fully, but there was also the therapist that he got frightened when I told him about my energy experiences. So, because they want you to talk about your experience, talk about my experience, because it's like I saw a ghost. Then I had to terminate this therapy. So I heard about this because it was a method that was used with men, so that you won't have to talk about your trauma. I said I cannot bring myself to speak, and the words, it's like a kaleidoscope of broken mirrors. This is never ending. So that's how it felt. And not everything I understand, and some of it is mine, some of it's not mine. The good thing about that EMDR person was that he noticed that I go through also traumas that are not my own. So he was intelligent enough to notice that. When I told him about my experience, he would go, the fuck, whatever. stigma. I don't judge, everybody has a story, but trust the person. Almost tell them about the violations you experienced in energy before they don't know what's energy. And then after that, I came with my crystals. I work crystals, and I talked about everything about the traumas that I had from nightmares as a child that I remember, and then and that and he fell in love. So this is what happened. I'm not joking. Because I wanted to make sure that like I don't know, I come with the energy with the so now he fell in love. Now he became. They don't know what's energy. So hopefully he will find a better name. So yeah, um, bless our lives, and may we be safe in the world and not have to fear, and not have to fear to have sex, and not have to fear to speak about sex, and not have to fear to enjoy sex, and not have to be worried about anything like boundaries being respected, and that it would not be, that we won't have this issue where if there's such boundaries, have these frightening experiences. It's like, yes, of course it's important to say I like this, I like that, this I don't like, okay, but not more than that, okay? Not more than it's enough intensity of boundaries. This conversation is enough. I like this, I like that, and this, so this no, it's enough. Okay, it's enough. No more talk about this is needed. Okay, no more boundary session is needed than that. So that is yeah, and so for me this is addressing Chiron, it's communication, childhood, language, okay, speech. Here I have there's different accents changing, so I like it. I like those different accents. I enjoy that. Like languages, I looked at Inuit language, and they have this throat singing, which is so lovely. It's Sedna. Oh, Sedna is now in Gemini. This for another episode. It's also honoring Sedna. Sedna, Sedna, she didn't want to marry. She didn't want to marry, and I learned about Inuit, but I didn't learn it from Inuit themselves, so I don't know if it is true. So before Christianity, they were living in tribes, and it's a very cold place. So if there would be too many girls born, they would kill their children. So they didn't have abortion, I think. And so instead, they would kill the children if they couldn't take care of the children. Every child who comes to puberty, they are wed, and so they would exchange, like they would leave, mingle, and but also there was we now call this incest, but basically we speak very openly with the children about sexuality, about this, about that, and they would also I don't know if they would have sex with the children, but children amongst themselves, it was okay to have sex, and if but the thing is, the husbands, they were the wife with other men. If they came to visit, it was like respect to show the wife. But on the other hand, if the husband wanted to hunt, then it was an act of respect for his male friend to come, not to come one person, let's say, to make sure that the woman is satisfied. So there were it was mutual in this way. So it's not about oppressing the women. But I don't know why they had to kill a women infant. And so within this context, Senna was born into this, and she didn't want to marry. She didn't want to marry, and probably the father was afraid what will be. And there are versions of this. Today I heard a version that some guy came and offered her, like it was a birdman, and he came and offered her riches, and she went with him. But then she saw like the underworld and the birds. So he said, "I'm the man of the ravens." So it's very interesting. So she eventually, I guess, she called for her father. Her father came towards her, but as he was taking his daughter, she was with him on the ship, and the ravens came and they made it crazy, and so he tried to kick his daughter into the sea. And then like he basically cuts off her fingers or her hands, depending on the version, when she tries to save herself. But then when she drowns, only then the story begins. After this betrayal and this horror stuff, she learns things, and she becomes the queen of the underworld, and the Inuit were worshipping her because she was the goddess of the animals of the sea. Okay, and it's ice. All you have to eat is fish. So she was very important Inuit goddess. And in Inuit culture, you have the throat singing. And throat singing, basically you release. I haven't learned. I have to learn how to do this. So, like you sing, and you're supposed to release your throat and your throat chakra, and then that's how you sing. And a lot of people say sounds like a porn movie, but this is the point: is to release the throat chakra. So maybe this can even work, for like sexual stuff, or sexual energy balance and stuff like that. I don't know, but this is very interesting, and so there's a lot more to said now. She's that point of interference where, like, we're just a speck in the cosmos, but tending to that speck in the cosmos affects the cosmos and being affected by the cosmos in more ways than we can imagine. When you think about nanotechnology, it's like the smallest particle, and this can make a difference. Generic pharmaceuticals, and they say this is the generic pharmaceutical. They change a little molecule there, and you feel like I'm sick. For me, none of that is good, but I used to take amphetamines when I was in academia, so I could get the high that I didn't get from having a healthy sex chakra. Basically, now I understand that. But it also, at the time, it helped me to address and process stuff. Like I had the high to process stuff. I took it to write, It was prescribed. It's not substance abuse in my case, not that I judge. But eventually it drains the magnesium, which is not good. So this is, and while addressing, my Chiron is now Sedna conjuncted, so knowing a bit about Sedna is also good, because now Sedna is in Gemini. But for you, it may be a completely different story. And in general, when you have Chiron not aspecting well with the planets of psychotherapy and pharmaceuticals, which is Neptune, drugs, and Pluto, psychotherapy, then it can be a red flag that that go-to therapy might not be for you. And that's also something important to know. When I learned about this, I'm like, oh, that explains so many things. I fought so hard to have therapy and invested so much money, and I don't regret it, okay? Of course I learned things and so on, but it would also be helpful. But also these are realizations that you need to come to them in times very difficult to accept. It's like, there's no therapy for you, there's no this, you have to comprise it yourself. Yeah, you make the path. With Chiron in Aries especially, you make the path. So you will see that you will begin to pave your own path. And it's not something to be afraid of, it's actually innovation. But for you, there is this thing of recovering our eroticism, if we are erotic, and joy and passion and desire to life and to live. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.